It's story time. Today I'm going to do the last story I have in the Green Knight Terraforming Company, and it's called If You Should Choose This Mission, Case 3. My dog just jumped off the couch, so if you saw a wiggle there, that was her. She usually likes to sit next to me when I tell stories, but I guess she is ready to go check if there's extra food in her bowl. And no, there's not. So let's continue. If you should choose this mission, you coming? Donald's presence filled the room. I called him Donald because he waddled like the duck in the old-time cartoons that were so popular in the 20th century. He may waddle like a duck, but Donald was all tank and was good at looming. The boss, Miss Frigg, and I were on the outs as she fired me. We weren't just her troubleshooting team. We were also her call center employees. I hated the call center with a passion, especially when the normals didn't understand the importance of having enough power for their terraforming units. I was sitting on a couch watching vids from the computer library while Donald loomed. I was one of the few humans in the entire cosmos that was allowed to run around in the galaxy. Our world had been declared proscribed because of our tendency to use anything as a weapon, including our bodies. The Cosmo wasn't a gentle place, but they had declared us too dangerous for civilized people. So we were quarantined. Most humans didn't even know that they were aliens out there. There were times I wished I were one of them and I was home on my blue-green planet playing golf. No, I was picked because I was a troubleshooter. I was plucked off Earth because my skills were hard to find in the Cosmo, galaxy, universe, whatever. The team is getting together at the pub. Donald's voice went an octave higher. He thought the higher sound was more persuasive. I don't have a team anymore. I tried not to sound sulky. I was just fired. Donald smiled. He crossed his arms. Oh man, I said, don't smile. You could scare old ladies into heart attacks. Come on, Tiny, he said again. You know, if Miss Frigg had fired you, then you'd be on the next spaceship to Earth and mind-wiped. Joe, I said automatically. My name was Joe, but it didn't matter to the team. I would always be Tiny. I waved my hand at the vid, giving it the one-finger salute, and the vid turned off. I had my own private gestures that I used on my electronics. It was my way of keeping it human. Donald was persistent. He would bother me until I joined the team to lift a brew. I sighed, got off my ass, and followed waddling Donald down the hall, out the port, and into a main center of the space station. The halls were actually circular, and the rooms were built in the inside of the circle. The atmosphere was close to Earth gravity, so I didn't grumble about floating. I had been eating a lot of junk food since my firing, so my middle had expanded a little. A couple of drinks wouldn't make me any fatter. At the pub, the techs, a bouncing rabbit and a grim hamster, plus Hermie, the earworm, were waiting in a booth. The rabid rabbit and Hammy had already started on some green concoction that looked and smelled like fermenting grass. Hermie was sipping a thimble that was too large for his body. The waitress, tall, long legs, and pincers on the end of her arms, brought Donald and me 2 frosted glasses of beer. I sighed. After that loud discussion with Miss Frigg, I was ready for some relaxation. She really knew how to kill a guy with words. I slouched across the table, took a huge swig, and almost choked as Miss Frigg floated through the door and toward our booth. What the F is she doing here? I could feel beer in my nose. I tried to blow my nose on the tablecloth. Donald handed me a napkin. I could feel Donald smile when he turned and nodded to Miss Frigg. She was in a red dress that fit her chest like a skin, then flared and swirled around her hips. If it was possible, she was poetry in motion. Miss Frigg was definitely human, but with freaky powers. I did give her an appreciative glance, and I frowned at her. She wasn't going to distract me with that dress. Miss Frigg ignored my exclamation and greeted the group. "Thanks for coming. It is a dangerous mission, but you guys are the only ones that can do it." Shit, I thought. Here we go again. But even if the female were Miss Frigg, the most dangerous female in the galaxy, I couldn't refuse her. What would my mother say? Yeah, the woman who tried to turn me into a gentleman. Still, I cleared my throat. All eyes turned toward me. Even the earworm quit drinking and jumped up and down, presumably to stop me from saying my next words. Why would I help you when you just fired me? She gave me that look, the one that women have been giving men from time immemorial. I didn't try to interpret the look. I just knew she was going for the throat and I wouldn't like it. Then she smiled. I knew that she was the most dangerous woman in the galaxy because that smile burned my eyes. Her pearly teeth blinded me. The dryness in her voice made me wince. The mission? The important mission that I need you to go on, Tiny? Joe, I mumbled under her breath. Tiny, she repeated. Oh, dang, she heard me. Some roaches have landed on a quarantined planet. You, buddy, will get to go home. Sorry about that. I had an extra white paper in between all the papers. So here we go. I think my heart sunk to my stomach and then onto the floor. Oh yes, I wanted to go home, but roaches? They were the scariest and most intelligent insects in the galaxy, Cosmo, whatever. They ate everything. They weren't the benign cockroaches of Earth origin. Oh no, they were bigger and much bigger with ferocious appetites. They ate everything in their way. The only reason I could think of that they would go to Earth was to breed more roaches. Once they settled in, they were almost impossible to get rid of, like the insects they were named after. Except, I said quickly, as if I had a choice. I really hated it when Miss Frigg smiled like that. It meant that I hadn't gotten the whole story again. I should have known better than to match with Miss Frigg. She was smarter and more cunning than me. I was the lowly troubleshooter and sometimes repairman. Of course, she could talk circles around me. Plus, I was drunk. So, when Donald and I got out of our white flying van without the Green Knight Terraforming Company stickers on it, I expected an outburst. Is your entire planet like this? He growled. He was sweating heavily, even enough that his white polo shirt showed spots under each arm. I decided not to tell him that the dry air would pull all the moisture out and just leave dried yellow stains. No. I trotted up the dirt road as the oppressive heat hit my chest, and I slowed down to a walk and then to a slower walk. Donald kept up with me. You didn't answer, he said. I could hear Donald's heavy breathing behind me. We were in an area not too far from Area 51, the U.S. government's research and experimental facility in the Nevada desert. It was midsummer, so it was hot and brown. The sagebrush, cactus, and sticker bushes were brown and hugged the ground. The hills looked spotted from a distance because bare dirt and rock could be seen through the browning bushes. We reached the end of the small trail. I pulled stickers from my socks. Donald stomped through the underbrush and batted a few creosote bushes to find an opening. A small camera glinted from the last bush Donald stomped. I put my face in front of it and said my identification number. Miss Frigg had lined up some help for us since the mission was not under official Green Knight business. When she had tried to send my lab animals with us, I put my foot down. No, I told her. It's too dangerous. Besides, Donald and I can handle most anything. If you say so, she said, but then she gave us these coordinates. Before the burrow opened, I heard Donald say, Hell no. He must have known something about a rabbit's burrow that I didn't know. Now, if I had ever thought that the rabbits on my tech team were from my own home world, I would have shit my pants. They were smarter and more educated than the juveniles of my own species, so it was a real surprise when a rabbit on its hind legs in a white lab coat held the door open. He jumped up and down a little. The door opened to a hole that was just big enough for Donald and I to crawl through if we were on our hands and knees. Well, I said impatiently, are you coming inside? Or are you planning to have heat stroke? Donald just sighed and got on his hands and knees. I won't mention scraping my knees in the dirt and small rocks, or how I kept bumping my forehead on the top of the tunnel until I learned to tuck my head down. I bet that lab animal was snickering when I finally reached the main room and was able to stand on 2 legs instead of crawling. I had bits of rocks in my hands and indentations in my knees. There was a small scratch on my forehead where I kept banging my head. Donald looked calm as a cucumber. Not a speck of dirt on him. I was covered in the stuff. Force field, he said deadpan. I must have looked exasperated because there was a twinkle in his eye, but not a twitch of his lip. Damn, I should have brought my own personal force field. I swore up a storm. It was home. I had not thought about bringing alien technology. Hopefully the rabbits would have something I could use. Maybe a laser gun? The rabbits had been here for ages. I mean, since the Mesozoic era. Because it was a lab module from a spaceship dug deep into the earth. Even with the new technology, the humans should have been able to find this ship. Look now, I am calling them humans, and I am one. I sighed. My people should have found a metal object so close to Area 51. I recognized the lab when I saw it. Of course, their security wasn't looking for alien ships. They were more concerned about the UFO looky-loos who spent their days spinning Area 51 stories. The tables, the microscopes, the holograms, the computers. Any scientist would be comfortable in this lab. Of course, there were subatomic microscopes. I do remember how I felt the first time some particle of dirt gave me the finger. Wow, didn't cover the initial shock. The lab tech who led us into the tunnel had already set up the images of the roaches. I could feel fresh air circulating around the room and the slight hiss of air being scrubbed. I guess the lab tech with quivering rabbit ears considered himself a professor because he was pointing things out on the roach with a long stick that reminded me of school teachers and others of that ilk. I never listened to them either when they started to drone. Donald bumped me. He knew when my mind was wandering. Of course, I bit my tongue and the metallic taste spread through my mouth. Donald bumped me again. What? I said, and glared at him. The lab rat is telling us the chinks in the roach's armor. Excuse me. Where are the roaches, and why are we outside a human government secret facility? Donald gave me a disappointed look. Maybe I should have already known. Maybe I hadn't read the briefing material. Maybe I wasn't listening. They waited for me to figure out why I was being stupid. Oh, I could feel a flash go off in my head. The roaches are in Area 51. I should say I was interested in the preparation for taking out an alien sentient creature, but I wasn't. The rabbits gave me a laser gun. Check. My Desert Eagle, which on 29 worlds is taboo alien technology. Check. My sword. Check. And the rest of assorted paraphernalia that was needed for a war. My best weapon would be my mind. And Donald, of course. I called him Donald because his real name was so full of vowels and strange letters that no human throat could pronounce it. I didn't even try. Donald also liked to wear those loud yellow shirts. I'm sure that his eyes, they were slitted, didn't see color and light like a human. Plus, he was from a heavy gravity planet, heavier than Earth, so he was a tank. It took a lot to take out Donald. Me? Well, I am an ordinary male, 5'11" in my stocking feet. I'm pretty nondescript except when I'm wearing the Green Knight Terraforming Company uniform. The white polo shirt had a rampant green knight on the left pocket, and the uniform acted as an armor. On this mission, we weren't going to wear the uniform. We were strictly incognito and on Miss Frigg's payroll. I think I dozed off in the middle of the strategic planning. It would go down like most missions, screwed. No battle ever followed a battle plan. After more pointing and more blah, 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 the lab techs brought us our newest armor. It had to be light enough so we wouldn't get heat stroke, but strong enough for battle. It was not what I was expecting when the rabbits pulled out a huge aerosol can and sprayed us. "What's this?" I asked. Donald sneezed. "This is the perfect formula." Excuse me, I gotta clear my throat. Excuse me. All right, here we go again. "This is the perfect formula for battling roaches." The lab tech's long ears twitched. That was interesting. It meant that the tech wasn't sure if the spray would work or not. "What is it?" I asked again patiently. My fingers twitched towards the laser gun. "Just a little bug killer. Why can't you just pump it into the building that has the roaches?" "We can't?" "You're unsure?" The rabbits looked at each other and refused to look me in the eye. Damn, we were double-threaded screwed. At this point, I was getting a little perturbed. Finally, the tech admitted that to spray the bugs, they needed Donald and me for a diversion. Donald was sure big enough to be a diversion. I wasn't too happy to be the diversion, of course. "What would this entail?" I like the word entail. Has an "and" and a tail in it. "Blah, blah, blah," I heard coming from the rabbit's mouth. "Never mind," I said. "I think we'll just figure it out." Donald handed me a small capsule that opened. It was Ermy. Yes, Ermy would be able to translate the geek talk from the rabbit. "He wasn't supposed to be here." I still took Ermy and put him in my ear. "He was very insistent," Donald answered. "How insistent could a small worm be to a heavy gravity monster?" Ermy was an earworm with a talent for languages. He hadn't met a language he couldn't chew and swallow. In the process, he translated the digested techie language to me. It was, "You will go to the gate and act like apes," was Ermy's translation. "I got this," I said. Unfortunately, I was very good at acting like an ape. And this is the end of part 1, and I will do part 2 in the next segment.